Back in 2003, it looked like American tennis was going to have their own protagonist in the tennis world, as a young Andy Roddick had won his first US Open and also achieved number one. Unfortunately, his reign would be stopped by a certain Roger Federer, and some other newcomers came along, as Nadal, Djokovic, and Murray also rose their games a lot in the mid to late noughts. Hard for Roddick to do any major damage in any tournament. These guys were simply on another level. So when Roddick did retire, American tennis didn't have anyone to root for who was at the top of the sport. But now, in 2023, American tennis is booming, and there's quite a few ATP top 100 players who are American. So let's take a look at them. So first of all, we have Taylor Fritz. He won Indian Wells in 2022, and he beat Rafa, and he's been amazing for the whole year, as he finished ninth in the world. And he's great off both wings, has a reliable backhand and a whipping forehand. Then Tiafoe. He announced himself on the big stages in 2022, as he had an amazing Laver Cup, and he beat Nadal at the US Open, only cementing himself as a top 20 player. Like Fritz, he has a huge forehand and a firing backhand when he's in the zone. Then we have Sebastian Korda. He has such a clean and natural striker of the ball, who was just about seeded for this year's Australian Open. And he's having a breakout tournament so far, as he's beaten Medvedev on a hard court, and he even had match points against Djokovic in the Adelaide warm-up tournament. Next is Tommy Paul, who's very athletic and agile and has great ground strokes. His game is the game to beat any player. He has beaten Alcaraz and Nadal this year, for example. Brooksby is a very unorthodox player. He's a bit like Medvedev, but his tactics are capable of beating any player. We saw this with Ruud in Australia. Nakashima is also a very consistent baseliner, whose backhand can go from blow to blow with some of the great backhands on the tour. And I do think he will be a great, possibly elite grass court player in the future, like somewhat Fritz is now, as he did go 5 sets with Kyrgios at last year's Wimbledon. So these are the players who I think can reach the top of the sport, who are American, and who the American public can be excited for. There is even some other players as well, like Cressy and Opelka, who are both 25. But they need to add a bit more to their games, as they're very serve dependent, so I do not believe they can reach the top 5 or 10 in the world currently. So, American tennis has come a long way, and it's somewhat revived itself since the Roddicks, Sampras's and Agassi's of the day. There's now a plethora of talent capable of rising to the very top of the sport. So, the real question is, who do you think is going to have a breakout 2023 this year? Do you think Fritz will rise even higher in the rankings, or do you think that Korda could potentially cement himself as a top 15, top 10 potentially player? But the way he's performing now, I wouldn't put that off the cards. Or do you think someone like a Jenson Brooksby or a Riley Opelka or a Maxime Cressy will improve their game enough to be considered a consistent Grand Slam player who potentially reaches the 3rd round or the 4th round at every tournament? So that was my piece on why I think American tennis's future is bright and how it's revived itself since those Andy Roddick days, and now there's a plethora of people who could potentially more often. So thank you so much for watching and listening. Take care and peace.